Thinking women are mastering leadership more than men? Wondering how to take the lead? Pause. Think about it with intentional thought and consider where we go from here. Stay tuned and hear what Loretta Butler-Turner got to say about how small principles and practices has elevated her above expectations.
Something to think about with Dale Happy Knowles. What we think, we become. What we radiate, we attract. What we imagine, we surely can achieve. Let's change the narrative 242.
Welcome to Something to Think About with Dale Happy Knowles. This evening we're going to have this lovely lady on the screen here enlighten us on a number of things that you might not even know she had in her toolbox. But, we all, we little biddies, we just reach on the scene. Everybody thinks Nassau and the Bahamas just started in the last 10 years or so. But, some of us been around a little bit. So much, I'm so much younger than her that I don't even have no more hair on my head right now. But, but don't worry about any of those type of things. Age doesn't make a difference. It's only a number. But we're going to have a great conversation this evening. And so as we go to start those things, we would like to welcome Miss Loretta Butler-Turner to the show. Welcome, madam. How are you today?
I am absolutely fantastic, Happy. It is such a pleasure to be with you again. I'm so glad that you use this platform to actually, bring attention to things that are important that people sometimes are not recognizing. So thank you very much for inviting me to be here.
Awesome. You're quite welcome and always welcome. You brighten up and make this side of the picture look a little better,
Oh, thank you. You're too kind.
We got to keep going at. Yes. So we're going to be talking a little bit about mastering leadership in business. And we want to touch on how it affected you from a woman's point of view, how you became so successful at it, and all of those good nuggets that a lot of the young people in particular, some of the older persons, like even up to myself, might struggle to figure out how to get this business thing rolling and get that momentum, critical mass, and start making some money. Because we always talk about at the beginning, there's always something that you have to the old school will say you gotta wait 3 years before you start making money. I see some businesses make it from day one and some take longer than 3 years. So we want you to walk us through some of these things today as we move. But to start out, I wanted to highlight one or two points, quotations from persons. And so we have this Max Dupree, who is saying that the first responsibility of leadership is to define reality, and the last is to say thank you. In between, a leader is a servant. So what would be your thoughts on his comment?
Well, it's interesting that you selected that particular quote, because when we talk about business, I cannot take credit for a lot of the success that I have experienced. We grew up in a family of businesses and, there was a lot of mentorship there. But one of the lessons that we learned directly from our grandparents and our parents is that in order to be successful, we have got to serve. And service was truly at the essence or the epitome of being able to be successful in business. We were always told that we're not better than anyone. We're just different. So we have to serve. And service for us meant working even as youngsters, whether it was during the school holidays or whether it was actually after school. We grew up in an environment where hard work was the mantra, and that everything that we got, we had to work for it. So I think that was a very valuable lesson that we were all imbued with at a very early age. And, the fact that one has to serve, leadership does not just happen. It comes through service, through people recognizing your ability and others calling you a leader. You can call yourself a leader, but if nobody's following you, who are you leading?
Walk in the park, all by yourself.
Exactly,
Yes.
all by
Mm,
yourself. And I wouldn't even consider myself a leader because I think, there were generations really before me that broke so much territory, trailed, they blazed
mm,
trails for me to walk upon. We basically, as a family and as second and third, fourth generation, we to extend that trail, if you will. So, sometimes people look at us as individual leaders, but we stand on the shoulders of so many people that have gone on before. And that is the same case in any business. I think it's important, even for people that are starting out their own family business or their own personal business, they've
mm.
got to have someone that is going to mentor them. And if you will, that may very well be their leader for that particular time
Right.
until they master the art of true business.
Yes. That is awesome. Mentorship. Folks, write that down. That's key. So this evening we're sponsored by Domdev Enterprises and Page Investments. And if you want to join this conversation, do please, because we want this to be as interactive as possible. But jot your notes down in the chat, ask your questions, give your suggestion, a comment, tell us where you're at, what you like, what you're thinking about, whatever it is, but just make sure it's respectful. That's all we ask, and we'll go from here. So, Madame Loretta Butler-Turner,
Yes,
as we
sir.
say. Yes, yes, yes. Let me get back to my notes. Yes. So, what would be key attributes that you would attribute to your success as a leader, particularly in small business? We know you did politics, which is big business, but particularly on the small business and your family, you mentioned your family background. Maybe touch a little bit on that, and then also the business that you actually ran from head to toe, pretty much, I call it.
I think the first thing, you must always strive for excellence. Um, each day you can do better. And you must be innovative. No
Mm,
matter what field of endeavor you are in, you've got to be different. If you're the same as everybody else, you're just going to be a part of the pack. So to be successful, you have got to do things differently. You may actually be using the same business model, but what do you do differently that makes you stand out? That's the important thing. Excellence. Never settle for mediocrity. If you're going to take care of someone and someone is spending their money with you, give them top notch
mm,
service. Actually blow
mm,
them away, because essentially business requires repeat customers. It needs to build a new customer base, and word of mouth is the greatest advertisement. So if you have clients that are happy with the services you give, they're going to tell other persons who will
right.
probably patronize you. They're going to speak on your behalf. While advertising is important so that people know that you're there and you're out there, I think the best advertisement that one can get is word of mouth. Us saying, I think you should go and try, what Dale is doing. He's got an awesome product, and that
Mm,
is going to build your business, because people are going to come. And don't be judgmental, because you don't know whoever walks through that door, what it is that they are. I mean, and yeah, I'm not going to be specific to any
right.
particular business. I'm just saying that whoever walks through your door, the fact that they've walked through your door, you treat them like they are the only customer, and you treat them well. People love to be treated well. If they're spending their money, they can go elsewhere. So
Right.
give them top notch service. I think that is the key. That is a huge part of building, actually building persons who will continue to patronize you, and also being able to springboard onto new clientele.
Yeah. And you touch on a piece there with you talking about getting the person's word of mouth out. And so, folks, if you want to get the word of mouth of this show out, do hit the like button, the share button, and all those different things to different people, because that's what Loretta Turner,
Right. You can call me
but
Lori because we go
yeah,
way
yeah.
back and everybody knows that's my nickname. That's
All
fine.
right, okay, all right, all right. So I will call you. Listen, with me, I might end up calling you all the names I know, but not the other ones, right? But so it's my brain just go dead fast sometimes. But yes, and so when we look at that, then so you're saying that basically somebody starting up with a low budget or no budget, really and truly, if they can get up off of their face and get up and speak to people and have people speak on their behalf, then that might be a
Well,
catalyst for them to take steps right there off the top without having to go dig up a lot of
no, I think
debt.
first and foremost, anyone who is going on the road to creating a business, a service, a product,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's going to require a plan.
Right.
You obviously have a vision, you have a dream of something you want to do. How do you get that from a vision and a dream to reality? And this is where I truly believe that it's important for them to have a great mentorship or a support. And, when I spoke last week, and I was so delighted to see you in the audience, I was
Mm-hmm.
speaking particularly as it related to the Small Business Development Center,
Right.
for which I serve as a consultant. And, I think here in the Bahamas, for us to be very relevant, I'd like to speak to you again about the fact that inherent within that organization, that has the support base, the system to incubate your business, to help you grow your business. And I think that anyone who lacks the knowledge, they should take advantage of that, whether they have
Right.
funding in place or not. There are advisors there are persons who can help them with business plans. I think that any business that you're going in or anything you plan to be successful at, it begins with a plan. It
Yes.
begins with a definitive plan, how you're going to execute it. What is the time frame that you plan to do this? When do you hope to see a return on your investment? All of these things are very realistic goals. And so it then also frames your mindset for the amount of sweat energy and equity that you've got to put in to making this happen. When one
Mm-hmm.
goes off into a business, whether they're carrying on a family business or they're starting a business, they have to realize that your work is endless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no 9 to 5. You'll have to carve out that special time for balance, for social life, for family life. But generally, you're constantly on. You're constantly thinking, how can I do this better? How can I not make the same mistake? And making mistakes is inevitable. It's totally inevitable. But the key is to learn from those mistakes and to
Right.
make sure we don't make them happen again. I think that's important.
Yes. And and then doing all of that, you're gonna have uh people who are gonna still, even though you have the mentorship and there is machinery available to you to be able to get the professional assistance, people are gonna say, well, I don't have this or I don't have that, blah blah blah, and they might say that they're a woman or this, So really and truly, then tell us then, how did being a woman present unique challenges to you and how you overcame them?
Well, I started out in funeral service, which is my father's business.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you back in the 70s, when I entered funeral service, there were no women in. I mean, I have a grand aunt. She was basically running her husband's business, but I mean, directly involved in the embalming and the entire funeral service aspect. There were no
Right.
women there. They weren't driving hearses. They weren't, doing this type of thing. And so for me, I was going into a male dominated field. And even my father, I do not believe, felt that a daughter should have carried on his business.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted one of his sons to do it. But,
Mm-hmm.
as it turns out, both of my brothers had other choices. And so there are challenges because, I mean, inherent in our thinking in the Bahamas, women are usually just in a supporting role. We're never
Mm-hmm.
the lead actor. And, I think we've been very comfortable for a long time being that support as opposed to being that leader. So you have to prove yourself time and time again. I recall very vividly, I must have been in our funeral business for at least 2 decades before my father told me, excellent, well done. So
Wow.
even that
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, or that nod to doing a good job is sometimes withheld. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how the boys do it, but you look at men and they're always slapping each other on the back and encouraging them and telling, man, what a great job you're doing. I don't even see that, it's more now, more women are being supportive, more men are being supportive. But, at first, you never got that sort of, you never got that kind of support. As a matter of fact, people used to ask me if I'm the secretary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In other words, they stereotype you and then
Right.
place you in a box where they think you're supposed to be. No, you're not qualified to be an embalmer. You're not qualified to be training men how to
Right.
do this. And I tell you, there are many men within the Bahamas who can tell you, Loretta trained me, Loretta did this, Loretta did that.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, I found it challenging. And, I was mapping my life the other day just in memory. And I was thinking, boy, I must be a sucker for punishment, because everything that I have actually entered into has been male dominated.
Well, that just goes to show that you don't shy away from the challenge of trying to be the best of, as you put it, to be the most excellent that you could be.
Well, I like I said, I must love self-punishment, but it is definitely sometimes you're walking that path alone. And that's why I think what is also important, Happy, is to be able to demonstrate success, demonstrate excellence, so we can encourage other young people, other young women in particular. And I have no difficulty with whatever gender it is, but I think we need to ensure that we get more of our young women to be confident, to have high self-esteem, to understand that it's okay to strive to be number one, to be the leader, to do these things. They don't have to settle to be the supporting actor in a role, and probably doing most of the work anyway. Do not be afraid to let your light shine. I think that's important.
Right. No, and part of it though today though, you type not to be afraid to let your light shine, but unfortunately there's excuse me, there's a lot of women that I come across who feel that they, with this equality movement, feel that they're entitled to be in certain positions when they get there, and so then they don't want to do the work. And so, what do you say to them? Yeah.
Well, while we all seek to have equality, whether it's in race, whether it's in gender, whatever we're looking at around the world, where there's inequality, whether it's blacks, whites, whatever, because you show up or because you're there does not qualify you. Okay. Let's begin from that premise. While we're saying, yes, we want to have women to have equal opportunities, we want you to also be prepared to embrace that equal opportunity. You just cannot come say, well, I'm a woman, I think I should have the job. Just like the man, we want you to be fully qualified. If there is something you're seeking to do, then you go and train or get the educational background, get the practical training. There are many ways that you can be trained. Even now you can go on the internet and you can get so much information, because people say, oh, I wasn't able to go to college, or I wasn't able to do this. I mean, information is at our fingertips, literally. So there's so much we can learn. And sometimes, it's not always the person with the college degree that's going to demonstrate the tenacity to want to do better. And so we don't want to eliminate anyone. As long as you have the willingness to work, you have the ability to learn, there is no reason. But don't just show up with no tools in your toolbox and you expect to become the head carpenter.
Yeah. And we're gonna grow this country from strength to strength. The more and more all of us listen to persons like yourselves who would have walked the walk and achieved, and so we can learn from you and maybe not follow the strategies and stuff that make us have go down the same road of mistakes. We could fast track some of those things. And so, what strategies?
I think sometimes you have to disrupt the status quo. I mean, there's this whole thing about being disruptive. Being disruptive, I'm not saying being destructive, but definitely being disruptive. Just stop the thought process. Stop the stereotyping. Disrupt the mindset. And move ahead.
Yes, it very much so is needed. They call me a disruptor, but they also call me a destructor. I don't know. I think